My name is James. James, people used to call me Mr. I woke up this morning. I went into the kitchen. There, I got out my Beretta and I loaded it up. There was weariness going through my brain. It's because I used to be respected, but now even little kids laugh when they walk by me. I poured myself some JD. I filled up my rocks glass halfway with ice. Then I poured in the JD. I walked over to my front window in my penthouse and I looked at the sun, but the sun wouldn't look back at me. I looked at the sun and I asked the sun, what happened to me? What happened to my band? But the sun just wouldn't answer. So I walked back over into my kitchen and I took down that JD with one big sip. Then I got on the telephone because I decided if I was going, I wasn't going alone. I called up my drummer. His name's Lars. He answered the phone. I said, man, you gotta get over here as quick as you can. So before I knew it, he was at my door. I let him in. I said, man, it all comes back down to 333. 333. He knew what I meant. So we went over to the instruments I had in my living room. He got on the drums and I picked up the guitar. And I looked at him and said, 333. He hit the cymbals and it symbolized the mess he got us into. I tried to play some chords, but it came out all wrong. I knew it when I woke up this morning. God wasn't going to be on our side today. So my drummer, he looked back at me and said, man, it's not my fault. I said, well, if it isn't your fault, then all the fault lays on me. And then he came to the realization that playing his cymbals too much got us into a big mess. So he said, all the fault can't lay on us. It's our lead guitar player. He lost all creativity and all his mannerisms. So we decided to leave my penthouse and go to the nearest gun and tackle store. So we went to our cars. My car wouldn't start up. I left the headlights on all night long, and the battery was drained dead. So we got into Lars's minivan, and we did 100 miles an hour in it to the closest gun and tackle store. I walked into the store, and I bought the biggest gun I could find there. Lars, well, he got a deal on a 38 special, so that's what he bought. We got out of the gun and tackle store, and we went into his car and drove off. We drove, and we drove. Then we noticed we forgot to buy bullets for our guns. So we drove, and we drove back to the gun and tackle store. The door was locked. They had closed for the day, but the man inside was still there, and he saw us. So I knocked real hard and told him to let us in to buy some bullets. He opened the door for us, but the whole time he held the door open, he was giggling like a little child. He was giggling at us. I used to be respected in this town, but he couldn't help but giggle at us. So he let us buy bullets for our weapons. We got back into our cars fast because it was really starting to aggravate me, this man laughing himself into tears, laughing at me. So we got into our car and we drove right to our lead guitarist's house. We knocked on the door and he let us in. First thing I did is ask him if he had any JD. He did. So I told him to get 2 rocks glasses out, fill it halfway up with ice, and fill it up with the JD. And he did. So me and Lars drank down that JD real quick. Real quick. And then, when our lead guitar player turned around, we juked him. And then we tied him up to a chair, took out our guns, and by that time, he was getting scared. We said, man, you let us down on that last album. Your creativity just went to all hell, and then you allowed our drummer to hit those damn cymbals too many times. He started to cry because he knew this was his end. Me and my drummer looked at each other and we said, 333, 333, 333. And then we unloaded on him. I shot 6 into him, and my drummer put 6 bullets into him. After the 12th bullet went into him, we then knew he was dead. So we got into our car. We did it rather quickly because we knew we had just made a whole lot of noise. We're driving to find the nearest motel because no respected hotel would have us in their facilities. So we found ourselves a nickel and dime motel to meet our end in. And we got the room, we got in the room. We looked at each other and said, it's time to reload. So we reloaded our guns. I pointed mine at his head, and he pointed his at my head. We looked at each other and said, 333. We both said it at the same time. We decided we were going to count down. 3, 2, 1, shoot. So we did. We went 3, 2, 1. And we both pulled the triggers and we were done. My brains flew all over the wall, and his brains flew on the bed. I went to heaven, and he went to hell. He went to hell because of his use of the symbols. When I got in the king's house, angels told me to go have a word with God. So I walked on over to where God was in his rusty throne he sits in. Jesus was on one side of him. Mary, well, she took off when she saw me coming. God looked at me and said, James, I'm not dealing with you. Go see Mother Mary. So I walked over where Mother Mary was, and when she saw me, she pinched her nostril shut. She said, James, you stink.